late night digital journal, I'd say. Me and my little boys riding. Had to stop by with my relatives in town. So we leaving Minneapolis. He's pretty quiet, so y'all probably won't hear him or whatever. But one of the things I wanted to kind of discuss and talk about. Oh, we at the stoplight right now. One of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about more than anything was some of the information in regards to the discussion earlier about I was talking a little bit about transhumanism, and with the transhumanism in regards to alien Earth. Alien Earth, they mentioned something. They showed a couple different elements of Peter Pan. Now, for those that know about Peter Pan, that was a Walt Disney cartoon. You know, we used to watch the one with Robin Williams as well. That came out in '94 called Hook with him and Dustin Hoffman. We always liked that as kids. We thought it was really dope. The music was out of this world. I'm assuming that it was Danny Elfman. I don't know who did the music for that. I'm gonna have to take a look and see who did the music for it. But the score was off the chain. Now, Peter Pan, we used to watch that cartoon, that Walt Disney full-length feature. We used to have that on tape, and I really enjoyed it. Even to this day, you know, I found a VHS tape somewhere at a Goodwill, because, you know, I really enjoyed it as a kid. Now, if you look at the definition of transhumanism and what they're trying to do with it, if you think about Neverland, what was the initial theme of Peter Pan? The initial theme of Peter Pan, if you think about it, it was almost like they were talking about immortality to a certain degree. So when you look at Peter Pan, when they showed in Alien Earth, when they showed, they kept showing. They showed it a few times. They showed Peter Pan a few times. Now that's something that I really want to dig into. Hopefully this weekend, just kind of, you know, digging into who made it, and, you know, just kind of dissecting that a little bit. But when you think about Neverland, they were mentioned, and I think the title of the first episode, I thought it was Neverland, or I think it was a reference to Neverland or something. But when you think of Neverland, that they're talking about I will never grow up. Now, if you kind of dig into that a little bit more, and you think of never growing up, if you're saying never grow up, that means never mature. And with age comes maturity. And with maturity and logic and experience also comes wisdom. Right? So now, if you're in Neverland, quote unquote Neverland, when are you going to mature? Are you ever going to mature? You dig? There's something in the road, man. Yeah, are you going to mature? Are you ever going to mature? So, you know, when I saw that, my spidey sense went way up when I seen it. I seen that element. I knew that they put that in there, and it was not accidental. You know, now whether you consider that to be good or bad, that's another story. But I thought about that when I saw Peter Pan, and I saw that trans. I don't want to give I don't want to give it to y'all. I want y'all to watch it. But when I seen that transhumanism, when I seen that in there, whenever, you know, I'll say, I'm trying to say it without messing it up, but I'll just say when I seen that element of transhumanism, I understood the correlation between Peter Pan and what they were trying to do with those human subjects. I'll say that much. Now, another thing that I covered, I seen in one of the comments, I do be reading y'all's comments. I read the comments as much as I can. You know, one guy, when I was doing West 7th, he was kind of giving me props, talking about the Ford plant. Another guy, I think he was trolling a lot, but he read a long paragraph. You know, I don't know what, you know, usually when people write, you know, when they write a real long paragraph, just talking slick, you know, usually they just be extra trolling. But, you know, I said things. You know, basically he's like, hey, you know, you jumping subjects and, you know, you need some better narration. I do the narration live most of the time. Like when I'm recording. So I don't take the video and then do the narration after the fact. But you know what? I'm going to take that as constructive criticism because I work for y'all. That might be a good idea to just grab some video and then narrate it with no audio. Narrated, well, I have audio, but I won't really do a bunch of talking during that. Well, that means I'm probably going to get some better mics and stuff like that. So yeah, I can make that happen. So that person that listened, maybe they weren't trolling. Maybe they were just trying to say, you know. So that's something I might consider doing. Another comment I got, somebody was talking about, one of the guys said, you know, he was also told at a company to not dress. You might offend people. So you got black folks, man, that's being told they're trying to be professional, and people are saying that you might offend them for being professional. So now that sounds like the bootstrap theory. That sounds like the real Rosewood mentality. Well, pull up your bootstraps. All right, well, I got my bootstraps pulled. Okay, I'm at the... should have gotten the other lane. I got my bootstraps pulled. I got me a new pair of boots. I designed my own boots. I put my laces through the boots. I did everything that you told me to do. And now you're trying to take my boots. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened when you think about Rosewood. That happens a lot of situations where, okay, for example, Tulsa. Well, we don't want y'all around. So it's a game, y'all. It's a big game. We don't want you around. We want to keep you segregated. We want to keep you undermined. You're beneath us. You're 3/5 of a human. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and go over here and build Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let me build Wilmington, North Carolina. Let me build Nicodemus, Kansas. Let me go ahead and build on my own because you're undermining me at every step of the way. Let me go put a nice suit on. You told me I need to be professional, but y'all are unprofessional. Okay, well, let me go ahead and do that. Well, now it's a problem. You were underqualified before. That's one thing I can say that Umar was right about. They play that game of underqualified, overqualified. Well, you're underqualified. Okay, let me go get the qualifications. Okay, you're overqualified. And you're like, well, damn, okay, there's no in between. So just to be clear, you know, when I made that that video talking about that 6 to 24 month hazing, I knew I wasn't the only one, but I didn't really expect to get the commentary that quick in detail, where the brother was like, hey man, they got rid of me and they went and got somebody else right away. And they were telling me I'm doing a good job. They're playing games. That's race soldier tactics 101. That's a bunch of Jedi mind tricks. Anytime somebody's telling you that you're doing a good job, actually, there should be like a law, or there should be some kind of policy. There should be some kind of law or something where if you tell somebody they're doing a good job, especially if it's on paper or via email, and then all of a sudden now we just let you go because, oh, you were being quote unquote too professional or whatever. There should be some kind of federal law involved in something like that. You shouldn't just be able to just, well, I don't like this person anymore, but they're doing a good job. That's not even equivalent. I don't like that person anymore, but they're you know, they're doing a wonderful job. I've had I think I gave you guys, I think I was talking about that one time. I think it was that managed service company, that story time where I said I don't know nothing. Weeks before they let me go, I was doing an excellent job. Then all of a sudden, this guy japs out and starts telling me, well, I can't assign or delegate work for you anymore. So then I come to find out when the manager, which you remember this was a managed service company out in Egan, when the manager finally talks to me, he tells me a couple weeks before it ended, maybe a month, maybe at max, well, Derek, we thought that we needed a VMware certification. Okay, well, I asked you initially, y'all said y'all was gonna train me up in VMware. You was gonna get me certified. Y'all was gonna, y'all was gonna let me work on the VMware stuff. That's what you hired me. You hired me to do the tech support, the help desk, and there was going to be a track for this. I was told that immediately coming on board, but now things have changed. So y'all remember that story? I just forgot about that. They pulled that on me before. So that's why I write a lot of these stories. That's why I write these all these stories. Now, check this out. One of my biggest videos was the why didn't DEI help this black woman? Remember that? Y'all ought to look at all the comments. I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna post all the comments on all these suspected race soldiers that, remember, DEI is a code word for black. See, DEI is never really intended to work for black folk. It's we know that the number one benefit is white women. The next is LGBT and immigrants. We know that. Well, we've seen these numbers for a matter of years. I've done several programs about it. But suspected race soldiers and confirmed race soldiers, what they saying is, it's her attitude. Let me tell you something. You know how many white women I work with in corporate America with some of the most shit attitudes, mediocre as hell, that are benefiting under these quote-unquote DEI policies? Told y'all the lady the other day, she gets to work talking about men ain't shit in public. That's DEI. That wasn't no black woman doing that. You talking about minority hire and DEI. That was a white woman. These white women be doing all types of shit at work, saying all kind of stuff at work, and don't never get reprimanded, don't never get sent to HR. So when I posted that video, that was a good bait too, and it's doing well, and I appreciate it. You ought to look at the comments. The whole thing was, her attitude. Well, she might have had an attitude. She could have. I tell you what, she's just a metaphor. That's just a black woman. They say, she's an angry black woman. Okay, but she's just a metaphor. What she was saying is, hey, I probably got more qualifications and degrees than all y'all sitting at this damn table, but I'm always the least paid. And I've seen this in many different environments. Go back to that story I did about the sister from Chicago. Titles and titles up the yin yang. Was she an angry black woman? Fresh out of Chicago, master's degree or bachelor's or whatever she had at that time. A bachelor's was the shit back then, right? We talking about 2011. She was hired from Chicago. Ain't been there 2 weeks. So she had an attitude problem? Where she had to train the intern white woman that didn't know a damn thing. So she should have an attitude problem. So she had an attitude. So she was hired. You're telling me that she was hired and she had an attitude problem. She was hired based on her attitude. They gave her a job because of her attitude. She wasn't a quote unquote DEI hire. This sister was stellar. She had a bachelor's degree from Chicago, and she ain't been up here for 3 weeks. But you got her training the white girl, and she don't even got all her system access. And the white girl's admitting to her, hell, I don't know shit. Why are you training me? I should be training, you know what I'm saying? Why so you training her to do her job. And she went back to Illinois. So what I'm saying is that was bait. I said, why didn't DEI help this black woman? Well, people saying, well, it was against her attitude. Okay, that's a metaphor. It's tons of black women that are 10 times more qualified than some of these so-called educated white women to be at these jobs, mediocre as hell, don't know a damn thing half the time, and these sisters be coming in putting in work, and they be getting paid more than them. They be getting paid more than them. So, you know, I just want to kind of comment on that since I'm driving and we going home. I want to kind of get into that. But let's get back to the brother comment where he said he was told that he dresses too professional. And I'm not sure what this job was, but I think it was a security job or something like that. They said people might get offended. So now I want to be clear on what he meant when he said people might be offended. Whoever told him that person was not saying what they meant. I'm going to tell you what they meant when they said, well, people might get offended. People might get offended because you're dressing professional on your job. No logically decent-minded person is going to be offended at a grown-ass man dressing for success and trying to be quote-unquote professional. There is not going to be anyone that does so unless they're a suspected white supremacist at the job. That's usually who it was. And you know this was a white person that said this. This was not a brother that said this to him. No one's going to get offended from you coming to a job professionally. That doesn't even make logical, mathematical sense. What it is you're a black man, you take your job seriously, and you're doing what you're supposed to do. So someone's basically trying to cap on you with that Rosewood mentality. Somebody's trying to tell you they're saying this is the same guy that says, well, you're doing a good job. So if I'm not doing a good job, that means I'm being unprofessional, right? Ain't that the case? Wouldn't somebody that's not doing their job correctly or not showing up on time or not doing what they were supposed to do, wouldn't you call that person unprofessional? Thus, the person that is doing their job and doing a good one, as you say, wouldn't they be professional, especially in their dress? So, like I said, once again, that's Jedi mind tricks. They're playing games. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do on their quote-unquote job. So I don't buy that. Now,